Welcome to Deal Talk. I'm Jeffrey Veit. I hope you're having a great week. And if you're shopping for a car, truck, motorcycle, boat, motorhome, maybe this podcast can help. Well, in fact, I know it can help. And we're going to talk about that today. Oh, here's an email that I received. Deal Talk, in your last podcast, you talked about leasing language. I leased a truck a couple of years ago without any special language. I don't know. I wondered, is that a comment or what is that? Or a question? It came from a guy named Eric in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I know that town. That's right on the edge. That's near Trenton. The language we talked about on the last podcast helps understand the change in emphasis. Out the door is not so important. Sign and drive counts more. If you're renting a house, does it matter what the landlord paid for it? No, of course not. It doesn't make any difference. No, right. All you care about and need to know is how much a month. That's what you same on a lease. Who cares what they're selling to the bank for? It doesn't make any difference. You want to know how much a month it's costing you. Another item is the residual. How much can you buy it for at the end? The residual is fixed. It's in a book. They're not going to switch that around on you because they can't. All they could do is make it lower. They couldn't make it more. I mean, what can you buy it for? Now, that's it, because some companies will say, well, that's up to us. We have determined if you can buy it. You can negotiate for it at the end. You need to know that if you're going to have to negotiate for it at the end. That's not the way it should be, but they should tell you that, right? So that's something you need to know from the language. Important language. I suggested to Eric, read the list again. I asked him, do you have all these answers? If you do, great. The list was for people who want to make the best deal and want to know exactly what else is involved. That's what the list is for, so you can know what's going on. Anyway, I'm not sure if that was a question or not. It was odd. It sounded, like, what are you talking about? That type of thing. Another email I received, Deal Talk, I don't think you have ever mentioned CAPA stickers as another way to tell if a vehicle has been smashed. Well, it's true. I've never mentioned CAPA stickers. CAPA stickers are stickers that go on replacement parts in a car or truck. They stand for Certified Automobile Parts Association. So they're like OEM parts. That means that what was put on the vehicle is equal to the factory. You know, it can mean something if a vehicle has a clean Carfax and a CAPA stuck on a frame support on the inner fender, if you happen to see one. That could mean something, but that would be rare. I would say it'd have to be fairly rare. It means that damage wasn't reported. CAPA stickers don't necessarily mean the vehicle's been wrecked. No. They mean that part's been replaced. Well, what if it's a part like a support bracket or something? You know what I mean? There's just things that wear out that wouldn't necessarily mean wrecked. So I've never brought them up because it really wouldn't make any difference. People aren't going to notice that. And a dealer that's wholesaling a vehicle, they don't want them to know it's wrecked. They're going to take the CAPA stickers off, so they're not going to be on there. The specific part may have been broke, but if you don't know about it, you don't know about it because they're just like factory stickers, you know. The thing to consider when you see one is where is the part? Where on the car is this part? And are there other parts around that area that have CAPA stickers on them or just one part? What did the Carfax say? Did the Carfax talk about damage in that area on the vehicle? I mean, then it wouldn't be unusual, right? CAPA sticker could possibly help, but maybe I should have brought it up before, so I'm glad the person emailed and reminded me about it, but chances are it will never come up. But if you see a CAPA sticker, you may want to lodge a size as to why it's there and what went on to make it there on the vehicle. That certainly makes sense to check it out if you find one. If you like the podcast, please take a couple of minutes and do a review on whatever podcast source you use. If you've already done a review, thank you so much. If you'd like to be a great friend and a great relative, tell them about Deal Talk. Tell everybody about Deal Talk and how it'll save them money, possibly big money. And they'll thank you. They won't thank me. In most cases, they're going to thank you. It's worth it. You want to do it. Listeners who'd like some written material with you to carry with you when you're out shopping, get a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You can download it to your phone. It doesn't matter what kind of phone it is, Apple or Samsung, doesn't make any difference what kind of phone it is. Yep, you can download it or your tablet. Doesn't matter what kind of tablet. It'll give you the basics for quick reference when you're in the buying process. And best of all, it's $3. What else can you buy for $3? Think about that. You know, I buy a coffee at Starbucks a lot. It's $3.63, I think it is. With tax? Yeah, for a cup of coffee. It's crazy. I know. It's in a piece of pie at the place down the shore. What's the name of that place? Oh, Perkins. I went to Perkins, had a piece of pie. It was $5 for a piece of pie. And it didn't save me any money, and it didn't save me anything. And neither Starbucks. This could save you thousands. Sometimes buying appears to be a good choice and a good time to do it. But is it? Should you repair and update your current vehicle or not? That's a question that comes up a lot with people. They'll say, what do you think? Think I should trade it or should I buy a new vehicle? Like I've been saying, the market is crazy and a buyer should wait another year or so for it to get straightened out before buying, if you can. But on the other hand, if your current vehicle is great, but it needs a major repair, do you fix it or keep going with it, or should you get a new vehicle? I mean, there's a lot of questions that come up that make you wonder about the answer, right? This one's a great question for these times. Do I fix my present broken vehicle, or do I buy a new or used one? Are those the only choices? Are there variations? How do you figure that out? What makes most sense? You start your thinking by asking and researching a few questions. You got to ask yourself some questions. I'll list the questions, but remember, this is a nut market, both new and used. And it's difficult to find a dealer you can buy from, hugely overpriced, and the selection is either none or terrible. But here's what you got to think about. Number one, how old is the vehicle? Is it so old that the technology isn't there and its appearance isn't what you'd like to look like? Is it just dead by date? AKA crazy old? Well, that kind of answers the question, doesn't it? Number two, if I fix the current problem, will it be safe and dependable for continued use? You know, a reasonable amount of confidence is required. How expensive is the repair, and are there parts that could fail attached to the bad part? An example would be an electronic component that's bad, and you put in the electronic component, and then all of a sudden other electronic components go, or eliminates all the running issues. Or fixing, you know, I don't hear about this as much now as I used to, but people do a valve job on their engine as it gets worn. Get 130, 40,000 miles on it, do a valve job. They don't realize that by building the compression back up with a valve job in the engine, that the worn rings and the worn bearings go under new stress now. A lot of times it can backfire, cause those parts to fail, which are even more money. Another consideration is, does it appear there will be other repairs of a different nature in the future besides this one? You know of 2 or 3 other problems you need to address, but you have not. Like, for instance, let's say your starter went, and they wanted $400 to replace your starter, and you know you need tires, and your engine smokes, it doesn't start well, yada, yada, yada. Well, that tells you, man, I don't know, maybe I should think about getting rid of this thing, because you got all these other things you got to do it. You can't drive around on bad tires. You could, but you don't want your family, if you have a family or friends driving around on it, right? It won't start, and it's starting hard. It's going to get to the point when they start hard, it's going to get, the next step is they don't start. You know, a lot of pending issues make it easy to say goodbye, right? The possibility of heaven sent idea, but right now, not so much, right? Another consideration is more about the future. Nobody can force the future, but if you look up the track record of the vehicle that you have, as far as like models, repair record, reputation, like Consumer Report, you look up your vehicle's 6 years old, look up and see what 2017 Honda Civics are like, or 2017 Ford, Taurus or whatever they are, whatever model it is. Does the track record for your vehicle indicate, it's a problem child, or does it indicate that it's going to get better, or is it, does it indicate that it's going to hold up well? Does it indicate that there's other things listed on the thing that go wrong with them? Vehicles with poor resale value usually have this issue. Consumer Report's the place to go to look that up, at least one of them, the major ones. Maybe Google is a good bet, or a bad one, I'm not sure, but you could look up that particular vehicle and see what it says about it. How's the budget? Is it an expensive repair? Do you have the cash for the repair? That's one that comes up a lot. Surprise repairs like that makes it tough. I mean, is it better to finance a new ride? You can finance a new ride and finance the whole thing, not come up with anything. Or is it better to come up with a repair? That way your only payment will be the vehicle. But the same if on a vehicle, if your vehicle's paid for and you finance the repair, that would be your only payment. Certainly less than a whole new car. And that's not such a bad idea if the vehicle's going to hold up. It's got a good track record you can bet on. You've done other repairs to it, let's say. Take, for instance, the models that I know have really good resale value. Mazda, Subaru, Honda, Toyota, many of the Nissans. They're a good bet. I don't care what your problem you're replacing is. They're a good bet that they're going to hold up. So a lot of times fixing those makes sense. Another indicator for the last choice could be, can the vehicle be traded in its current condition? If there's something wrong with it, can I trade it in the way it is? Like if you know you've got a lot of other things you're looking at and something else is wrong, the starter's bad, and you're going to need tires and all that stuff, can you trade it in that way? Sometimes a dealer will take a vehicle and trade if it's broken, but don't be fooled. Get online quotes without a trade and then bring up the trade. Otherwise, you might be just getting fooled, getting nothing for it. That way you'll know if the dealer is really giving a trade value while it's broken. If your ride passes the probable problems quiz and the in the future test, then you must realize that the longer you keep that vehicle, the lower per year cost when you figure it out all at the end. If you figure it out, you should take a look at that because, if you got a pretty good vehicle, it's been a good vehicle, it's got a major repair, and it's got maybe 120,000 miles on it. Do you know that there are cars sold every day on dealers' lots with 150,000 miles on them for a lot of money? Because a lot of models out there, or not a lot, but quite a few models, still run pretty good at that point. They're not going to wear out. It's not like the nightmare that electric car owners are going to go through. Oh, my God. Man, I'm telling you, that's going to be a terrible thing to live through when you find out 4 years down the road you need a new battery and it's $10,000. Think about that. Holy mackerel. Would a repair now likely get you a couple more years? I hope the answer is yes, because that's what you should do. If you can, that should always be what you do. Get it repaired, and then go on for a couple more years. I mean, there's excitement in buying a new vehicle. I know, it's fun. But it also is money. If you must buy now, you might possibly look for a used vehicle from an individual. They are probably more in line with the fair market and less ballooned by the current market, right? Individuals don't know the markup and stuff. They're not ready to blow it up over the books and stuff so much. Follow the tips in the buying outright episode. I've got episodes about buying outright, so you know the things to check. But it could be the answer you're looking for because dealers aren't going, they have a very limited supply and they're going to get top dollar for them. That's the way it is. Forget about a used electric, though. It'd be going from the frying pan into the fire, no question about it. They have zero saving graces, no question about it. Other considerations that might support the buy a new one now, that purchase, would be consider if your needs changed. For instance, you need more passengers. Let's say when you had the vehicle, you only had 2 kids, now you have 3, or vice versa, 1 kid, now you have 2, and you need more room. Or you need something that's a van type, or whatever the reason. The timing is easier to accept if you must buy when you're gaining something in the needs area. So you could say, well, I have to buy now. It's not a good time to buy, but at least I'm going to get something I can live with more. I can do a better job for us. Like I mentioned before about financing a new being better for the budget. Do you have the cash for the repair in the first place? All-in financing is available. You could finance the whole thing in. You don't have to come up with any of your cash. It might be your most affordable choice. Since you'll be paying a premium, make sure it's a vehicle you can keep for a good length of time. Know right now, if you buy a car right now, you're going to be paying more than than the market normally is, and it's going to come down the market, and when it comes down, it's going to depreciate your vehicle that you buy even more than it normally does, and you're going to take that hit. But if you're keeping it and it fits your needs, well, it won't matter. It's not going to come up if you're keeping the vehicle. One that might stop to get a new ride idea is, can you trade your current vehicle even with an issue not fixed, especially if you still owe money on the current vehicle? So let's say your current vehicle is bad, won't run. Say the transmission's bad or something like that, and you owe money on it. I mean, can you buy a new vehicle and owe money on your old one if they won't take it in trade? Probably not. You may have no choice but to finance it, of course, and it's going to give you a double payment. Hopefully, you'll be able to keep it in line with it. Those two payments won't equal the price of a new one, but purchase loan and repair loan would be tough. But if you trade, your vehicle has to be paid off. If you trade it, you don't want to ruin your credit. You got to do something with it, right? Then if you can't trade it as is, let's say dealers won't take it in trade with a bad tranny. When you fix it, will the trade value be improved by the repair amount? Get a few opinions. The numbers can vary by a lot. Chances are, a vehicle could be worth the additional price of a transmission if it was fairly new. If it's a 10-year-old vehicle, probably not. Probably not going to add to value. But if it got you 2 or 3 more years, it's not so bad then. Do other possible repair issues threaten your cash position? Will this repair break your cash position so that if another part broke, you'd be in trouble? And if it looks like there is, like I said, if you had a starter be replaced and it took your cash $500 to fix the starter, and you're going to have tires, and that's another $600 or $700 for tires, and you're going to be in a position where you can't do those. I mean, would you be in trouble? When the future of your vehicle repairs is, it's a poor story. Buying another unit may be the smartest choice. Just be sure to limit your exposure by keeping the price down. That's the other thing. If you're going to lose an extra 10% on a vehicle when the market changes back, 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. 10% of 30,000 is 3,000. Keep the price down as much as you can if you're going to buy in this ballooned market. That's another thing. Keep in mind that getting a new ride is fun, and a new ride is safer and more economical and giving you peace of mind. That's sure. Right now, have your current vehicle checked out and brought up to snuff. You may have ignored a few things lately, thinking about trading. Have the vehicle professionally detailed. It'll make the keeping of the old unit more palatable. It's all detailed, sort of like a new vehicle, and catch up on the things you didn't take care of. You haven't changed the oil in a while. You haven't checked the brakes. Check that stuff out. Get things brought up to snuff. And just sign on to, I'm going to keep it a few more years. Sign on to keep it as long as you can. And I'll tell you what, it'll do nothing but save you money. What you owe is a consideration too. How severe is your equity or minus equity position? But also remember that if it's paid off and you keep your old vehicle a little longer, you can afford something else the family needs, or maybe put some money in the bank, or put some money towards education, or there's things you can do to make things better for you in another area. Things that need fixed. Maybe you need a new roof. Who knows? Right? I think that's an important consideration. That should remind you that interest rates are up now because of inflation. If you buy now and rates go down, you'll still be paying at the higher rate. Not a great time to buy anything. It isn't. If your old vehicle is nearly paid off and there's trade potential, it might seem trading makes sense, but keep in mind that if the research we talked about shows your vehicle has a good repair record, and there aren't a lot of other pending issues, keeping your old vehicle is often the best cost-benefit ratio, because soon you would have no payment at all going on, which means you can start packing the money away. If you fix the vehicle, it turns out to be the wrong choice, you can still trade it in and give it to someone in the family if it even was the wrong choice to fix it. There aren't many ways you can lose in this situation if you think it through. There really aren't. New versus used is a separate issue, and you can catch that episode, but The same basic thought process as we already talked about. You could do all the due diligence for a purchase and then compare the facts too. That would probably be the best way to decide. If you have to rent a vehicle while you make a calculated choice, then do it. And do your due diligence. See what it comes out to for a new vehicle, and then compare it to fixing your old one. This is one of the reasons that short-term leasing works so well for people. This is one of the things that really benefits to it. You're never in a situation, because even if the vehicle does break, you're still within the factory warranty if you keep the leasing to 36 months. I read an article from, I forget what magazine it was. It might have been Consumer Report and online from their website. And they know a little bit about leasing, not as much as they should. I can't get anybody to talk to me there, or I could help them with it, but they really don't always get it. But leasing can be a good choice. It's just a question of keeping it short-term enough so it isn't a choice. But when it's an older used vehicle, looking at what you will end up with after the repairs is the key point. No sense in feeding a dead horse, right? By now, you may be asking yourself, what do I do? It's a crazy market. I'm in a corner, and it feels like I got to buy. What do I do? Like I mentioned before, right now, you're paying a 20% minus equity adjustment beyond the normal that will take effect in the future when the market shifts back. So you're paying 20% too much, and when the market shifts back, that means you're going to take a little extra lump on the one if you buy one. That's why I said it's always a good idea. 20% of a lower number is a good thing. So if you buy something cheaper right now, if you had to buy and you bought something really inexpensive, that lump you take later would be much smaller. But if you can fix your vehicle and it's got a good track record, that's the way to go. You can really save a bunch of money. You could really save a ton of money towards other things that the family needs or that you need. In fact, maybe you don't buy a vehicle, you fix whatever went wrong, you decide to fix it, you fix your vehicle and you keep it. And the money you're saving not making monthly payments, you buy a cruise and go on a cruise. Who knows? There's things you can do that are very pleasant, right? If you're forced to buy right now, spend the least amount you can and avoid electric. They represent a loss no matter how you cut it. There is no way that you can buy an electric vehicle and not end up losing your shirt, especially a used one. It's just a bad investment. No question about it. And if you're going to buy a used to replace your old one, if you decide fixing it's not the way to go and I'm going to trade it in, you get dealers to go look at it. They will. They'll take it and trade. Like I said, get a cash price first and then bring up the trade. But there's a lot of ways to go on used. You can buy from an individual. You can buy from, a fairly inexpensive used. Or you can get a late model used. And buying from an individual is a consideration. You have to be more careful. Listen to that episode because you got to know about the title. Where the title is paramount. Because with an individual, you don't have that. You don't have to worry about, probably negotiation is not going to be as dramatic. You got to get a mileage statement signed because people will lie about their mileage. And if they get caught lying about it, that's a federal offense. That's serious stuff. People don't realize that. Spinning a car speedometer, man, that'll get you in jail so fast it'll make your head spin. That's really serious stuff. But that can happen, so you got to look into that when you're on buying one. Fixing your vehicle is always the best choice if you can. Yep, I believe in most cases that's the best choice in this market. Well, that's it this week for Deal Talk. If you have a question or request or even a comment, please call, text, email me. Callers or texters, it's 407-801-4071. That's 407-801-4071. You can email me at dealtalk@mail.com. That's dealtalk@mail.com. Please don't forget to do a review and do yourself a favor by getting a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It's the best $3 you'll ever spend. And you can be a hero. Tell your friends about the podcast. And when they save money, and everybody does, when they save money, you'll be the hero. They'll thank you. However I can help you, contact me. You'll hear from me. And remember, every payment you get should be CPI. Complete payment information, the amount, the month, the rate, any required down payment to get to those terms, and not on just the first payment quote, but every single time they quote you a payment, you get that information. And every price you get should be all in. If you're going to do your own financing and you just need an out-the-door figure from the dealer, every cost has got to be in there. Tell them I want everything, the tax, the tag, the dealer's fees, any options, anything, no surprises, everything to get the OTD out the door.